We want to welcome you to the NAACP General Membership. We have our minister here with us. We're going to open this meeting called our please.
Let me just say for the pastor cause we want to thank Dr. Don, the pastor here, and the Friendship family for opening the door. Let's give them a hand. I know all of this church, so I have a little life, but we thank all the churches this year for hosting us. Give them a hand.
Shall we pray? Eternal God, our Father, we thank you tonight for all of your many blessings and your tender mercies. We pray now in the strong name of Jesus Christ that you'll give us ability to talk together in unison, bring us to be one voice, that we can become effective in the work that needs to be done. Bless us to not be so self-centered, but let us be about helping all of those that are in need. We thank you for all that has transpired in this year. We pray that you will continue to give us favor, and we'll give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.
We're going to go right into our agenda. We have some visitors here.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have that's Cal down and public water.
Public water now. Cal down, public water now. Catherine Steadman.
Catherine Steadman. Catherine, we don't have a mic. Could you come over here?
Catherine's from Cal.
Oh, Christ, I mean, they the ones been charging us as outrageous.
Gosh.
Thank you. I'm Catherine Steadman. I'm manager of external affairs here at the California American Water in Monterey. I've been with the company since 2005. And I want to thank, first of all, the NAACP for hosting this forum tonight and also for inviting me here to speak to you. Something that I've heard before and when I've attended public water now meetings in the past is that Cal has mismanaged our water system. Cal illegally pumped the river. Cal failed to solve our problems. Basically, all of the big issues that we face when it comes to water in this community, problems that some of you have lived with all your lives, are all Cal fault. And if you get rid of Cal, all the problems go away. It's really a convenient story to tell, because the truth is much more complicated.
President, point of order. There's nobody speaking on the agenda. The agenda doesn't have to say anything about anybody coming to make presentations. There's a point of order that it's not on the agenda, it wasn't approved. I don't think we're going to listen to anybody give speeches.
I don't know which agenda you have. Speaker. Would you go ahead now?
I'm sorry, but just making the point that the idea that Cal is responsible for all of the water issues that we face in this community, and that if you get rid of us, the problems go away, is something that I would like to challenge. truth is actually much more complicated. And the truth, in fact, is very much the opposite of that narrative. Calaam and the Monterey Peninsula as a whole have been handed a complex set of circumstances when it comes to water. Over the years, there have been many parties working to grapple with that situation. And to date, most of the coping mechanisms have involved using less and cutting back. But what Calaam is working on, and what we recently received approval from the California Public Utilities Commission for, is actually bringing a solution that would provide this community with enough water to do what it needs, to support people in their lives and their work, to support public safety through fire protection, and to make it so that even in a drought, we don't have to fear water rationing. Please take a minute to visualize that future, because if you've lived on the Monterey Peninsula for a long time like I have, the idea that we're running out of water has practically become part of our culture. Now, don't get me wrong, you have heard Governor Brown say that there's a new normal when it comes to water use in the state, and frankly, the Monterey Peninsula is already there. Yes, we will still need to conserve, we will still need to use efficient appliances, and it's probably still not going to be a good idea to cover your lawn with turf. But having a lack of water be the commanding factor for every important decision we make about our community's future, very soon will no longer be the case. Instead, those decisions can be made based on what we as a community think is best. So perhaps you're wondering if it's not all Calaam's fault, whose fault is it? And as I mentioned, it's a long story, but I'll do my best to make it short. Originally, our community was served by dams on the Carmel River, but as the population grew, the water supply was not enough. Calaam drilled wells to augment the supply with groundwater. These were fully permitted, legal wells that operated for years with no issues. But fast forward to the drought of the early 1990s. The river stopped running to the ocean, which was a very serious issue for the anadromous species of fish, the steelhead trout, that live on the river and were unable to complete their life cycle. A complaint was filed stating that our wells were causing the river to dry up. The State Water Resources Control Board looked into this and decided that instead of pumping groundwater, as was previously believed, our wells were indeed pumping underflow from the river, and we did not have surface water rights. So in a single day, literally overnight, the rules concerning these wells and our entire community's water supply changed dramatically. In one decision, 70% of our historic water supply became illegal. Since that time, there has been a concerted effort to find an alternative water supply. And there has also been, make no mistake, on the part of others, a concerted, consistent effort to stop the water supply. Calaam's role throughout this time has been that of a leader in proposing and pushing forward solutions. We've faced many obstacles along the way, but we have persevered. And today, with the recent approval from the Public Utilities Commission, our perseverance is finally paying off. Let us not forget that early on the peninsula opted, way back when, not to participate in the state water project. In 1990, local bodies turned down an off-stream reservoir proposal. And in 1993, we the people voted down a desal project. And in 1995, we voted down a new dam project. But also during that time, the Pebble Beach Company built their water reclamation project, saving hundreds of gallons of water from the river that had been used to irrigate their courses. And the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District and Calaam partnered to bring the ASR project to fruition, which has provided considerable water in wet years, and which will have the ability in the future to provide up to 1,300 acre-feet. All of these measures help, but they alone cannot solve our problem. And you must know too that in 2009, the problem became more acute. The State Water Resources Control Board put a deadline on replacing our withdrawals from the Carmel River. If we can't fix the problem by 2021, we will have a reduction in our current water supply of about half. We need a drought-proof, reliable source of supply, which desalination represents. Our project has been in the works for a long time, but there is a lot of progress happening right now, and finally, we see an end in sight. We see a future where water is not the confused, complex, and political issue that it has been here for ages. We see a future where, like every thriving community in this country, water is something that we know we will have when we need it and enough to meet our needs. That sense of uncertainty and everything that goes with it will no longer be our reality. Our future can be based on our best plans and our best vision, rather than on scarcity and fear. Water is part of the critical infrastructure that creates the foundation for everything that we as a community want to be. It's that vision, particularly with the recent progress made, on which we all need to focus and maintain our effort. Measure J, if approved, directs the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District to study a buyout of CalAm and gives them the authority to spend whatever it takes without another vote of the people. Because CalAm isn't for sale, this would trigger a long and costly legal battle that would likely cost the public millions in legal fees alone. CalAm's assets have been valued at over $1 billion. The cost of the buyout alone, not including legal expense at that price, would be $150 a month per household for the next 30 years. Measure J is a costly, ill-conceived ballot measure that would send millions of dollars down the drain without solving the pressing water needs of the Monterey Peninsula. Unfortunately, Public Water Now has sold its ballot measure on the claim that a public takeover will decrease water bills. They are backtracking on that claim now, and with good reason. A takeover would undoubtedly increase cost to customers, as it has in every other community where this has occurred. If cost is your concern, and if you care about jobs, opportunity, and affordable housing, then we must secure an adequate water supply without delay. Measure J does nothing but get in the way of a timely and affordable solution. Thank you.
We'd like to thank this young lady from CalAm. I think we have is that a different view of the
Do we want to have any questions?
Shirley's going to say we're asking most questions.
questions?
Not right now. Let's let the gentleman from there go first.
Okay, we'll have a chance. So you get a chance. Let's hear from Public Water.
Hi, my name is George Riley. I'm the Managing Director of Public Water Now. We sponsored the initiative to put on the ballot. We got more than 11,500 signatures. 4 years ago, we had a little over 8,000 signatures. 4 years ago, when we lost, we were surprised at how many votes were in favor of Measure O, despite the kind of opposition we had. CalAm spent $2.5 million against us. We spent about $120,000 for our campaign. We had all the mayors against us. We had the board of supervisors against us. We had Congressman Farr against us. We had a boatload of opposition from across the elite world of politics and the amount of money that was against us. But we got 46% of the vote. So we thought that maybe there's more to this picture than we realized, because a large number of voters said, we're interested in public water, we're interested in getting an analysis, we're interested in the feasibility question, we're interested in exploring that. And that was 46% of the voters said, yes, we want to find out more, in spite of the kind of opposition we got. And some of you will remember the kind of opposition we got. So we declared it that we won. We only got 46%. But we declared that we won because we were onto something. So we felt we'd just keep the campaign going for another 4 years. So now we're today. We got far more signatures on the initiative this time than we did the last time. There is not a single mayor against us this time. Some of the mayors are very much in favor of our project. If you look at the flyers and all the stuff that you're getting, you will not find a single endorsement from some community group that supports them. At least they're not advertising it. Where's their support? If you look at our material, we have the League of Women Voters, we have the Democratic Party, we have the Democratic Women, we have Sustainable Seaside, we have Save Our Shores, which is a group that helped close the sand mine in Marina. There's a whole new group in Marina that's supporting us. We have a large number of people supporting Public Water Now. We have a supporting list of over 3,000 people. There's a lot going on in favor of us. And we're not opposed to the individuals. We're not opposed to the employees. We're not opposed to the services. We're opposed to the structure. The structure is a corporate structure that's protected by the PUC process that makes it very difficult for people like you, people like me, to have our voice heard. It just doesn't work. You've been to meetings when they come down here. The PUC will sit. You'll have 100 people in the audience. You've done it over at Overmeyer. People get up, walk, talk. What happens? You don't hear another word about whatever the public said. There's no structure about so many people said this and so many people said that. It doesn't exist. It doesn't show up in any of the material. In the PUC, it's there, but it's not in the material that's reviewed by the ALJs. The ALJs are the supervising people who hear all this material. It is a legal process. You do not have a voice in that kind of structure. You think you do. You have a chance to say 3 minutes worth. But does your voice ring in any place? No. You might say that for your own city council. You know, you got 3 minutes. We all do, you know, City of Monterey, Seaside, Delray Oaks, doesn't matter. You get your 3 minutes. But you know who you're talking to. You know you'll see them down the street. You know you know where they live. You know you can run into them again. You will never see that with the PUC process. You never. Local control means local. CalAmp is not a local control process at all. I say we're a cash cow for CalAmp. They make all sorts of money off of us. They make even more money off of people like Seaside, cities like Seaside. Because you don't have the return coming back to you that maybe some of the others do, like the hospitality industry does in Monterey or Carmel. They have a system of government and economics that just works for them. Seaside's trying to get there. Marina's trying to get there. But you follow the money. That's what you should do. Follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. You hear that all the time anyway? It works when you follow money. You learn a lot. Follow the money. That's what I've been trying to do with, and a lot of us on Public Water Now, follow money. These kind of flyers that come out, it's kind of nice. They talk about training people in Seaside through the Villages Project. Some of the individuals are pictured here. They're Seaside residents. Great! They're not the only organizations trying to train people for future employment. They act like they are, but they're not.
What?
What'd I say?
We'll get to you.
All I'm saying is telephone company, the banks, the hospitals, the hospitality industry, all sorts of other industries around also trying to train people to get jobs. And what are all schools around here for? But they give you this flyer saying, we are just so wonderful because we run a couple classes and some of our employees do good things in the community. Great! I'm not against that. What I'm against is they're trying to take advantage of a person here and a person there and make it sound like they're big contributors to your community. Now let's just look at some numbers. I want to say follow the numbers, follow the money. I don't know how much time I have because I kind of get excited and then I lose track. Money. This is a flyer we put together on CalAmp's numbers. These are not our numbers, these are CalAmp's numbers. They file their numbers with, they file their reports with the PUC. We dug out the numbers, created a pie chart so people can understand things. So this is what I want you to understand. Follow me. Everything in blue is what they spend on local employees. There are about 100 employees at CalAmp. The assumption is that if there is public ownership, they will just move right over. Same employees, same, they know where the trucks are, they know where the supplies are, they know where the leaks are, they know what they repaired last week, what they need to do next week. They know that. They should stay on the job, we expect them to stay on the job. It's the structure we're going to change, hopefully, with public ownership. So everything in blue is spent locally and would stay. We're not trying to micromanage what Cal-Am is doing. All we're trying to do is take their numbers and show the picture. All the blue stays local. Everything else leaves your community. Everything else on this chart leaves your community. That's almost 50 cents of every dollar, 45 cents of every dollar. They collect from Seaside probably $3 million a year of this total up here. And that leaves the community. What have they returned to Seaside? Got a $150,000 little platform out by Big Roberts. I'm not criticizing any of that. And whatever corporation can do for a community, good for them and good for the community, and say thank you and enjoy it. But for them to balance, well, you watch, there's a flyer coming out on Seaside, it's a little $150,000. You can bet there's a flyer coming. Haven't seen it yet, but you'll bet it's coming. And they'll say, look what we're doing for Seaside. All I'm saying is, if you look at the big picture, they take $3 million a year out of this community, and then what do they give back? A couple of training sessions, people who are critical, this kind of flyer material. They got. I'm not saying Cal-Am is all bad. What I'm saying is the structure doesn't work for local. The money. Follow the money. The money leaves the community. That's what happens. If you have local control, most of the money will stay local. Here's another piece that's the green piece. That's also business of providing water. These are lab work, telephone response, call centers, billing, thank you. We're have to have those too, but those are done off-site, off the green. $8 million a year. $8 million on this year, but that's kind of a pattern. All that leaves the community too. But it goes to Illinois, it goes to San Francisco, it goes to Sacramento, it goes to San Diego.
New Jersey.
Follow the money. New Jersey. If we get local control, for sure, the green part will come back here. The green part will be local services. The green part will be jobs. The green part will be lab work, call center, tellers, I'm not sure, what we call them?
Billing,
Billing.
local jobs.
Local jobs, local jobs. So if we can get public ownership, and that's the first things first, but if we get public ownership, we think this can change dramatically in terms of what it does locally. The money would stay local. All the blue would stay local anyway. The green would be new money in the community for jobs. The blue, the red, and the orange will be the money that we use to buy Cal-Am. You're paying it right now. We're all paying it. Monterey, Carmel, you're all paying it. But it's like paying the landlord as opposed to your ownership. You're paying rent to a landlord, absentee landlord. Money leaves the community. You get a place to stay, or you get water. But that money leaves the community, and someplace else is getting all benefit. We will stop doing that. It's like when you rent and then you buy. When you buy, you stop paying rent. You don't pay both. They're trying to make the argument that this is going to be so expensive to buy Cal-Am, $1 billion worth. Don't believe a minute that that's true. They may argue it. Don't believe a minute that there are good facts behind it. So if we're able to get the feasibility study done, and it's feasible, then we go forward. You'll stop paying the landlord. You'll start paying the mortgage. So this money goes to the mortgage. You'll buy it. When you burn the mortgage, costs will come down. That is true. Anybody who's ever been a homeowner, everybody who wants to be a homeowner, any parent that has been a homeowner, it takes a while, 30 years or whatever. When you burn your mortgage, you're a happy person. And your costs go down. We won't be in that position until some years down the road. Felton bought theirs. This is what I don't understand. Cal-Am is lying through their teeth on so many of the things they're saying. And I'll say that in front of Catherine. I've said it in front of others before. If you follow the money, you can't ignore what's happening locally. They're taking it out and giving a little bit back and saying, aren't we wonderful? I should stop and go ahead and get some questions. Let me just, the 1D cell project and the PUC process in general, it's very difficult to get traction. Anybody like me, anybody who wants to get into that business, into that. If you want to be an intervener, talk to me please first before you do that. It is not easy. You got to be retired. You got to be a nut because you want to get into all the details. You got to be willing to spend time there that you don't get any reimbursement for. You got to somehow find some humor in it as well as some usefulness. But it's a project and a half. But let me go back to the desal just a minute. We already have the most expensive water in the United States. Now a lot of people want to contest that. It was a national study done by some other organization. It's the only national study that we're aware of. The last one was that I'm aware of, was done in like 2004. It was the first national study done since then. It's been, they looked at all states, every water company that was large enough, I forget the threshold. But anyway, you ended up with the most expensive water in the United States. Not just California, the United States. And Callahan is really excited about this desal project. So that's the most expensive water there is to get desal. They're using stainless slant well technology, which is a new technology, which is even more expensive. So they take the most expensive water possible, desal, add the slant well to it, which makes it even more expensive, and adding it to the most expensive water in the United States. Why wouldn't you want to ask 100 questions to everybody on that picture? Not just whether it's public ownership or not. Why wouldn't you want to know, why do we have the most expensive water already, right now? Why do you want to do the most expensive possible water there is when there's an option available to you? There is an option, there has been, it was promoted to the PUC, and the PUC said, sorry, we don't have time to look at that. We're going to give Callahan their approval. Our problem is, we got to go through the process, we got to go through this back and forth, we got to contest each other on what we're doing. It's he said, she said, he said, she said, she said, he said. That's the constant argument you get. You shouldn't believe Callahan. I don't believe you should. You don't even have to believe me, but I think you should. But it doesn't matter. If you don't believe either one of us, and there's some real facts out there that ought to be gotten, you should vote yes on J to get the facts. We're not the facts. We're not the authority on the facts. We can only get so much information out of Callahan. We can only get so much information out of PUC. And we can't get everything. But once the process starts, and there's a formal, official, professional approach to the feasibility study, there's going to be economists, there's going to be accountants, there's going to be lawyers, there's going to be engineers, there's going to be bond counsel, there's going to be, all these people have to be engaged on how do you evaluate or determine the feasibility of a public buyout. We're following state law here. State law requires there to be a feasibility study before any public agency moves toward acquiring a corporate utility, electrical or water, doesn't matter. State law requires a feasibility study. That's what we're asking. Let's do the feasibility study. Let's get the facts. When the facts come out, then we can have a real good debate. You know what the facts are, you know what the costs are, you know how long it's going to take, you know what the problems are, you know what the capabilities are, you know what has to be done to implement it. You'll get all that stuff. And we may find that Callahan is worth $1 billion. Or we'll find out it's worth like $150,000 and you can buy them like that. We may find, we don't know what we're going to find out. It's like Christmas, you know, what's going to happen good or not so good or whatever. It's not really Christmas. Let's get the facts. That's all I say. Follow the money so you understand what's going on. Desal, high cost already, high cost on top of that. And how can they argue it's affordable for our community? What we're saying is, let's give facts a chance. That's all I have.
Stay up for a minute, please. Mr. Watson had a question for Callahan, I think.
I'm just going to say something about water was costing you $150 a month, and I got some friends paying $1,400 a month, what happened to them? You can't even work the shit, if you want to prosecute them, they'll they didn't want to pay. Got a bill for $1,400 plus one person living in the house. And that person's not home all the time, works 40 hours a week out of the house, and there's one person living there. $1,400, she pays the bill, and I'm the one for that. We got afraid to pay the bill. We should have found this guy here.
That would be it.
See what we should have done with that. But anyway, that's all I want to say. She ain't the only one.
Virginia, you have a question on the project?
Yeah, but I don't know if you're wanting her to respond to you, Joe? Are you waiting for a response? Or can I ask
Yeah, I was waiting for a response, but she was going to say something. What are you going to say?
So our average monthly water bill is about $75 a month. That's what our average customer is.
I'm not a KLM person, but I know how much it is, and I'm glad I'm not, but I understand it's more than that.
We have a really steeply tiered rate structure, which is steeper tiers than any place else in the state that I'm aware of. And that is because of the water shortages, because of the water restrictions that we're under. So if somebody has a water leak, they will go into those higher tiers and wind up with a high bill, like a $1,400 bill. But in that case, we do not ask customers to pay those amounts. And I would be happy to talk to whoever this friend of yours is, but we ask them to repair the leak, and then we adjust the bill back down to what their normal amount would have been if they repaired the leak.
And I'd just like to add a follow the money part to that. If you have a $1,400 bill and you go to CalAm and CalAm says, we'll knock it down to $300 or some number like that, and we'll give you credit for the rest of it, and they'll knock your bill down and so on like that, good.
Right.
They'll do that. Where do they make up the fact that they didn't collect the $1,000? Where do they do that? They charge us. The mechanism exists where we contribute to the fund that covers uncollectibles or this definition. And so if you follow the money, you personally didn't pay because you had an excess bill, maybe it was unfair, it doesn't matter. They'll do nice to you. But somewhere that money is going to land up on an account and gets paid. And so we all share.
I just want to let you know that a lot of people.
Excuse me, I'm next, okay?
I was commenting on this. I was mentioning on this. Do you have any question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the one. If you don't mind.
Okay, shh. You know, sir, she shouldn't have even stepped in.
Hey, Virginia, go ahead.
So, okay, thank you, Josh. So I take exception with what you just said, Mr. Riley, regarding the Village Project, thinking they're the only one in town to provide these services. I am the co-founder of the Village Project, and I happen to have listened to a lot of this issue around all these organizations that are supporting public water now. It would be lovely to have public water ownership. Who's going to pay for that? But the other piece is that all these organizations, for years, the black community has been here in Seaside, and it has been out-migrated with gentrification, no jobs, no housing, and so on and so forth. And when it comes to jobs and that water class wasn't initiated by CalAm, it was initiated by two African-American gentlemen that live in this community, that were born and grew up in the community. One of them was born in the community, and the other one has lived here for a good part of his life. And they came and did some good for the community through their job with CalAm. So CalAm is giving opportunities through what they're doing. Now, I didn't hear you mention Sustainable Seaside because they are partnering with the city on the project that CalAm gave $150,000 for. So I would appreciate it if you would get your facts straight regarding the Village project, because the Village, you haven't ever dialogued with us and found out what our position is on if we think we're the only person providing jobs for people. So I really just don't appreciate that. But the other piece is all these groups here that you named have been here all this time. And I'm just sick and tired of people coming into our community, this community I was born and raised in, and not doing anything for the poor people, particularly African American and Latino people. And so all of these groups are coming in supporting this, which is fine, it's their prerogative. But why aren't they going to the jails? Why aren't they going to schools, making sure that people are getting the education they need so that kids in this community can buy homes and property? And the other piece is I read some stuff in this about eminent domain in this Measure J. I do not want people's homes being taken through eminent domain that they've lived there all their lives, because there's some information in there about that. But I just would like to say that when you did express your concerns, you had some hatred in your heart when you mentioned Village Project. And that's what I really take exception with. And I just wanted to communicate that because you're denouncing a nonprofit agency that provides free services to the underserved people in this community and all over the county. So I wanted to express that to you. Thank
I
you.
accept that. Okay, so you're,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt you. I just was trying to address his question about the high bills. I wanted to say that there's a whole group of people that have gotten really high bills. Some of them, one of them I personally dug from the street all the way into their house. We never found a leak, but there's a whole group of people that have been receiving unusually high bills out of the blue with no water leak. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and you might tell your friend that there's a little talk of a little conglomerate of people addressing that. Sorry about that.
If I could
Sorry.
say something else about the rate structure. I do think it's important to realize that CalAm does not set its own rate structure. We do not set our rates. Those rates are set by the California Public Utilities Commission. And it's typically done.
Let me respond, please.
California American Water files an application to the PUC. Then anyone can intervene in that process and become part of the settlement process to come up with a recommendation to the commission. And I think it's worth noting that the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, which is the agency George is proposing to take over the water system, has been a party to those tiered rates, to the rates that we are under today, which are designed to save water. That group is in full agreement that that was the proper way to charge customers for water given the constraints on our supply. So I think that, you know, when George points out that, yes, if you have a water leak, you're going to get a high bill, the implication is that if Measure J is successful, that's going to change. But your water bill is based on the cost of supplying water to this community. And the rates are designed to save water because of the water crisis that we are in. None of that changes with Measure J. And I think it's irresponsible to make an implication that it would.
But why when we saved water, we got penalized for it? We saved water. And I did. I had a bill of $600 for 2 people. We didn't have a leak.
And
you know,
really,
making now
yeah.
several times, I said, oh, okay, sorry, mistake. We've got 3 different smart meters.
That's 3 meters.
And it's like, okay, whatever. I'm not so impressed that prices go down. I don't like CalAm and the way that they've dealt. Anthony Lopez was great. Okay? He came out to our house, he worked with us. We went on this Fathom program that somewhere went away. I don't know what happened with that. But it's so frustrating, I'm sorry, when you try so hard to conserve. I love to garden, but I've got a drip system. I water 2 days a week, 30 minutes a day. And we get a bill for $600. And then it goes back down, then it's all good again. Then it went back up again. And it just seems like it's not our end. It's not a leak. We had it checked out. We have been residents for 20 years in Seaside, 18. And this, it's like, whoa, we were doing fine till this one, it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Anyway, sorry.
yeah, let her go, and then you.
On my bill, I noticed, I think it's $12 that I pay for water, and the rest are surcharges. That means the 2015 water revenue laws, that means all the failed projects. Does that mean the failed desal out at Moss Landing? Is that the failed project with the Marine Coast Water District? Is that the San Clemente Dam? I'm paying for failed projects after one, after the other, after the other. And you mentioned the slant, or you mentioned the high tiers, and that's why we pay so much here. I'm thinking, all California conserves water. All of it, but Lodi, Stockton, Modesto, Twain Harte, Lake Tahoe, San Francisco, Oakland, those are nice places, and they're not paying anything. They're getting water from Tehachapi, Colorado River. We could have everything with Carmel River, and we're paying higher than everybody else. That's 87% of the United States is publicly owned at a much cheaper rate. I'm concerned about the rates. They're not paying the CEOs, they're not paying your board of directors, they're not paying your bonuses, they're not paying surcharges like the rest of us. We all need our bills. We're smart people. This is a smart group. We need to see what's going on.
So there's a lot in that question, so let me try to break it down and do my best to answer you. The situation where we all conserve water and then the result is that the bills went up. I understand that that is so frustrating and it feels like you're being punished for doing good work. But I want you all to understand that that is the situation with every water provider in this state that had to deal with the drought. Because the major cost of a water system is fixed. It doesn't have to do with the amount of water that you're providing. It has to do with maintaining the pipes, maintaining the wells, the pumps, the treatment plants, all of that infrastructure. And those costs stay the same.
Same thing. Lodi is maintaining their pipes and they're much cheaper. Oakland, San Francisco, Palo Alto.
I beg to differ. There's been significant increases throughout California after the drought because of the conservation.
Are you now outsourcing jobs overseas? Is Cal-Am American Water?
No, they're not. And the other thing I would like to say about our cost is the pie chart that George has shared and is in their materials. That information came from the California Public Utilities Commission report. It's not a financial statement, it's not an income statement, it's not a profit and loss statement like you would typically see for a business. And it's not a full picture of our finances. There is certain information that the PUC asks for, and we provide that information. Some of it pertains to our operations statewide, some of it pertains just to this district. And Public Water now made no differentiation between that. They also took $11 million of revenue that was approved for collection in future years, and they put it in the 2016 budget. So you've got to take that $14 million that they show for profit and subtract $11 million right off the bat. They just got that flat wrong. That would leave you at $3 million, which assumes that the rest of their figures are correct, which they're not. And that is so important because this is the fundamental argument as to why a public takeover won't cost you more. They're saying there's $19 million of expense that's just going to go away, and that can be used to pay off the bond. And unfortunately, all of that math is incorrect.
Okay, I need to have two more discussions. You first, and one more. Thank you.
I have two questions, is that okay?
Please go.
Okay, well, one of them, I was wondering, the whole point of this is for a feasibility study, so we can get the facts, and you stated all the roles you've played in our community with providing us water, and there's a lot of confidence, and with the confidence, would you not be open to a feasibility study to show and prove everything that you've done for the community? And then also, this is just something I don't understand and I want to be educated on. You are a private corporation, so you have shareholders. And is there incentives for there to be lower water rates for customers with shareholders involved?
Well, I think the problem with Measure J is that it's not just a feasibility study. It's a feasibility study, and please read the ballot language. It's a feasibility study, and then if found feasible, directs the Water Management District to go forward with a condemnation. So it's way more than a feasibility study. It's basically, giving them the green light to go forward no matter how much it costs. But do we have an incentive to keep rates low? The reason that we're a regulated utility is because we're a natural monopoly. So, a water system, what we own is not the water. The people of California own the water. We own the pipes, the treatment plants, the wells, the pumps, the tanks, etc. If we were to have a competitor, that would mean having a parallel set of all of that infrastructure. It makes no sense. So way back when, when the railroads were first being built in this state, the people said you can't have a private company providing a vital service like that and also setting its rates. That's why we want the government to regulate these companies and do the rate setting for us. So that's the PUC's role, and they have an independent arm, the Office of Ratepayer Advocates, that does a full analysis of our rate application, and it's their job to ensure that customers are paying a fair rate. And I do think it's worth mentioning that that level of oversight would not exist under public ownership. So the rates would be determined and set by the Water Management District, and as George has said, you would have 3 minutes to oppose at their public meetings, but you would not have that extra layer of the state agency setting the rates and going through the extensive public process that the PUC conducts.
One more question. Yes.
David, just a point of clarification. Is my understanding that Public Water now, or Leisure J, is if their study was done, then they would purchase the existing CalAm infrastructure and all of that. And then also, how much would this feasibility study cost? I know you mentioned lots of different people that were going to be involved in it. Do you have an estimation of what that will be? So what would be the total package then?
The feasibility study only guarantees that if it's feasible, first of all, it'll cost in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $600,000. That's a lot of money.
The feasibility
The feasibility study itself, less than $1 million, but $500,000 or a little more. It's expected to be completed within 9 or 10 months. And at that point, there will be facts that we all can understand. That's when the real debate will take place.
Who pays for that?
Sorry.
Who pays for that feasibility study?
Oh, yeah, and the Water Management District will pay for it, and they have reserves for it. But it's in their reserves, and we've checked on that since we initiated this. The bill's going to fall on you. We just checked ahead of time. How much do you think it's going to be? Do you have the money? We're going to have to respond to those questions. So what's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is $500,000 or a little more. Since we started, it seems to be a little more. But they have it in their reserves, and they would cover that. I want to just
Hold on a minute. Guys, we're running out of time. It's almost 8 o'clock. But being up on this, you ask one question, and then we're going to close this down. Thank you.
If we can have a closing comment or two.
Yes.
In fact, I have a couple questions. Number one, I receive slip fines every other day from the water company. And I find them very deceitful in the verbiage and what to claim and what have you. I think it would be more popular if the water company, instead of putting them on the flyer paid for by the American Water Company, it'd be put on there paid for by American Water Company customers, which we're really paying for those. Don't tell me that those people in New York or New Jersey will be paying for that.
It's all paid for by our shareholders.
Second thing is, how much are you paying those two people who are noticeable in their TV appearances? Counting the water company.
They were not paid.
They weren't paid?
No, the people in the television commercials, no.
So it's no beer, we're not paid by the water company?
It's a good lunch.
All right.
We're trying to believe. One other thing that we have with the water company, I had 3 relatives that worked for the water company. That one, in fact, all 3 of them dead now. But I go back to when Bill Hayes owned that water company. Now, CalAm, water company bought Bill out in 1966, if I recall. Okay. Now, when he went through the same thing, when people tried to get the water company from Bill Hayes, he would use the same tactics that you're using right now. It went as far as to take and threaten my relatives, my brother and my father-in-law, that, hey, you talk against this, against the water company, you're going to get fired. I mean, that's true. And that's what happened there. I don't know what you're doing where you're going now, but you just heard, and the employers already know, that they're not going to lose the job if Cal-Am is not doing it. And I don't think that most of the people understand that you're in this business to make money, and you don't care about the little guy here, about $500 or $200 water bill. You care less about them. You're working for those people in New Jersey and those shareholders. You're not working for the customers. You're providing a service. But you talk about the water rates. I have, fortunately, since that morning, and I have one little apartment place that I have a washer and dryer. That's all the water I have. And I had it stored up with, so I know how much money comes in here. The last time the water company readjusted their charge rate, I paid 3 times as much for that little washroom as I pay on my home. Now, I don't think that's fair. I think everybody ought to be charged the same thing for water. Now, I'm paying more per gallon for water than those hotels on Canyon Road. Because you gave those people a neat, sweetheart deal. Because they were all supporting the water company. Now, talk about that. I'm not all that happy with water now, what it was called. Because really, Cal-Am and you're both buried at the hip. Both of you are taking our money. And we're not getting a hell of a lot for it.
Ma'am, I don't have the time. I got to get out of here.
Do we have a closing comment though?
Yeah, please do it. Come in.
Just, okay, I don't need a minute, okay. What I wanted to say, back when Regina was talking about eminent domain, the only eminent domain actions that are possible in this is the Cal-Am assets. No home is threatened by this. You just made a reference to that, I just wanted to clarify that. It's only the Cal-Am assets that would be subject to eminent domain proceedings, which is only a matter of a process of determining price. It's not a purchase, it's a price. Because there's going to be there's going to be differences of opinion. Cal-Am is going to say they're worth this much, the public agency is going to say they're worth this much, somewhere in between there's going to be some number. In this process, there's a way to get to that number, and it's through a court process. And it's only Cal-Am assets we're talking about, no homes involved in any of that. The other thing is the money, the chart itself, the pie chart, they're Cal-Am's numbers. Cal-Am made their report to the PUC. We got the numbers from the PUC. So for Cal-Am to suggest that they're PUC numbers, or we're mixing up the statewide versus what's local, not true. You file a separate report on the district, and you file a different report on the state. We looked at the district. I just want to clarify that.
Well, I'll just say in closing, thank you again. I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of you. I have to clarify one thing, the statement that all of our employees will be hired by Water Management District. The same thing was said in Felton. Not a single employee got a job after that takeover occurred. So I don't think that's something that can be assumed. It's certainly not a decision that would be made by Public Water now. I do urge you all to get the facts. The problem is that Measure J is about way more than getting the facts, and if we go down the road, this road, it will certainly mean higher costs for everyone.
Thank you.
Would you be willing then to somehow get in touch with everyone that give her your name and phone number and call them? Yes, so if you have any questions, then I think she will go ahead and answer. It's some house cleaning that we got to do, so